Oh hi, welcome. I'm here to yap about books today. So, as you can tell from the title of this video, I have recently started reading. I used to read as a teenager a little bit, but I was never really a big reader. So, as I got older, I kind of felt the need to read, and I just never found a book that I liked. So, I did not finish a single book since I was a teenager, I think, since high school, probably, which is a long time ago. A few years ago, I was hanging out with some friends and we were talking about books, and it just kind of made me feel like I wanted to get into it as well, and actually get into it and finish a book, find a book that I can finish, that I enjoy enough to finish. So as I was Googling, you know how it kind of gives you suggestions of things that you can buy when you Google something. The first thing that was suggested to me on that page was Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber, and immediately as I saw the cover, I just knew. I just immediately judged this book by its cover and a little bit by its name as well, because it sounds kind of like a fairy tale. So I was pretty much sold. I didn't know at the time that this was part of a series. This was actually a sequel, kind of, to Caraval. I did not know that. I figured that out after I had bought it, and I just decided I should just read this, because I'm probably just going to buy a bunch of books before I even get into reading, which I do with all of my hobbies. I just buy everything I need for them, and then I do them for a week, and then never pick them up again. So I just wanted to be sure that I am actually getting into reading before I do anything. Spoiler alert, given by the fact that I am making this video, I did end up reading the entire series. So the way this video is going to be structured, at first I am going to just read the blurbs of each book and kind of give my opinion without any spoilers, and then my rating. And then in the second half of the video, I'm just going to talk all the spoilers and talk about how I felt about the characters and about the plot lines, and we're gonna get into things a bit deeper. This video is very much a test just to see how things go. This is my first book review, so I may say too much or too little. We'll just have to roll with it. But first, I would like to add a little disclaimer. I'm going to be very honest about my opinions on these books. If you do not agree, or if you have a counter argument, or even just your opinion on these books, I would love to hear it. So please leave it down in the comments below, and let's chat. Let's chat about them. Once Upon a Broken Heart, I picked it up in 2024, and I read it in about 2 weeks. I'm a fairly slow reader, and also English is not my first language, so it took me a little bit to get used to it. Even though before that I was reading exclusively in English, I don't know. It took me a little bit to get used to. This book is about a 17-year-old girl, I think. I didn't know she was 17 until the very last book, which kind of took me out. I don't really like reading about underage people. But I think YA in general kind of has 17-year-olds in it. I'm not very happy. I would like to read about adults, but not actually read adult fiction, because that seems to be, it might be a little bit triggering. And I think I prefer YA, but just give me, at least make them 18. They don't have to be 30, 40, but just make them 18. So I'm gonna read the blurb now. So for as long as she can remember, Evangeline Fox has believed in happily ever after, until she learns that the love of her life is about to marry another, and her dreams are shattered. Desperate to stop the wedding and heal her wounded heart, Evangeline strikes a deal with the charismatic but wicked Prince of Hearts. In exchange for his help, he asks for 3 kisses, to be given at the time and place of his choosing. But after Evangeline's first promised kiss, she learns that bargaining with an immortal is a dangerous game, and that the Prince of Hearts wants far more from her than she pledged. He has plans for Evangeline, plans that will either end in the greatest happily ever after or the most exquisite tragedy. I did really have a lot of fun with this. I love the plot. I love the fairy tale-like qualities of it. It was a bit of a spin on a fairy tale, I guess. It wasn't really just a flat-out regular fairy tale, which I really enjoyed, and it was kind of what drew me to it because of the title. I gave it 5 stars for the plot. To me, that was very interesting. For the characters, I gave it 3 stars. I really liked the main character, but I didn't like the love interest for this. it took a really long time for him to grow on me. For the writing style, I gave it 4 stars. I like the way it's described. I'm not someone who can visualize. I have aphantasia, so I don't really have that ability to visualize, but I feel like it's descriptive enough to where I can still get the feeling of what is happening and what things look like. And I like that she describes the dresses in such detail. I feel like I have not read since a book that does this level of description for all of the outfits. So I'm really happy with that. And I did give it 3 stars for the ending because I was kind of hoping for a conclusion. The story is spread over all 3 books, and because this is the first series that I've read since Twilight, I was not expecting to be so open-ended. So that's kind of why. I don't know if that's a spoiler. Is that a spoiler? But it makes sense because it's not supposed to be the ending. Either way, overall, I gave this a 3.5 stars. It was good. So the second book, The Ballad of Never After, I picked it up immediately after. So I ordered them and then immediately started it. However, I dropped it halfway through. I think it's called Soft DNF. I think so, because I was planning on continuing it. It's just things got in the way and I never actually got back to it, well, in that year. So that was November 2024, I think. Yeah, I started it in November 2024. And then this year in March, on the 18th of March, I finished this book. It took me 2 years to finish it. Well, not really 2 years, but almost 2 years. And when I got back to it, I think I finished the last half in a few days because I was so happy with it. I don't know why I dropped it for so long. I think I'm just the kind of person that kind of has a tough time coming back to things if they drop it. So I think that was the issue with this, but I really enjoyed it and finished it immediately as soon as I picked it up. After Jax, the Prince of Hearts, betrays her, Evangeline Fox swears she'll never trust him again. Now that she's discovered her own magic, Evangeline believes she can use it to restore the chance at happily ever after that Jax stole away. But when a new terrifying curse is revealed, Evangeline finds herself entering into a tenuous partnership with the Prince of Hearts again. Except this time, the rules have changed. Jax isn't the only force Evangeline needs to be wary of. In fact, he might be the only one she can trust, despite her desire to despise him. Instead of a love spell wreaking havoc on Evangeline's life, a murderous spell has been cast. To break it, Evangeline and Jax will have to do battle with old friends, new foes, and a magic that plays with heads and hearts. Evangeline has always trusted her heart, but this time she's not sure she can. I think plot-wise, I enjoyed this a little less than the first one. The romance drags on for so long, and I wasn't expecting a romance series to kind of take this long to pick up. And I do like a slow burn. I'm a slow burn enjoyer, but this is too much of a slow burn for me. This took too much. I also did not like Jax in this one. I wrote him as my least favorite character in this book. I said it makes sense that he's mean, but it gets annoying. I got very annoyed with him throughout this book, and I guess he has his moments, but this man, I don't know, maybe I'm not made for this kind of character. But a little spoiler for next week's video, things that do change in Caraval. Had I read Caraval first, I think I would have felt entirely different about this man, but because I didn't, I read this book, this series first. I didn't like Jax in this one. I liked him even less than I did in the first one. I was rooting more for Apollo in this one, I think, just because I didn't like Jax so much. I was rooting for Apollo. Not that I liked Apollo, because I didn't really know him. We don't get to know him much in the first book. So for the plot, I gave it a 3.5 stars. For the characters, I gave it 4 stars. I preferred the characters in this one much better. I preferred Evangeline a lot better, and Lala. I even like Chaos. I thought he was a fun addition. Is he in the first book? I don't even remember, but I liked him in this one. I thought he was fun. For the writing style, I gave it 4 stars again because it's the same writing style. It doesn't change much, and I like the same things that I did in the first one. I dislike the same things that I did in the first one. I gave it 2.5 stars for the ending, though. I'm not gonna say what happens, but yeah, if you've read this, you know what happens. I I did not like the ending. That was not my favorite thing that happened. I had to kind of stop and take a breather. Yeah, I didn't like it. So I gave it 2.5 stars. I gave it, again, 3.5 stars overall as the book. I enjoyed it. I finished it in 2 years technically, but yeah, I enjoyed it. I still enjoyed it enough to pick up the last book and read it fast. So 3.5 stars. On to the last book. So A Curse for True Love, which I bought at the same time as the Ballad of Never After in 2024, but I never picked up until this year because I was in the middle of the second one. I couldn't just pick this one up. Let me read the blurb. So, to love and to curses. Oh, it's like a toast. 2 villains, 1 girl, and a deadly battle for happily ever after. Evangeline Fox ventured to the magnificent north in search of her happy ending, and it seems as if she has it. She's married to a handsome prince, she lives in a legendary castle, but Evangeline has no idea of the devastating price she had to pay for this fairy tale. She doesn't know what she has lost, and her husband is determined to make sure she never finds out. But first, he must kill the Prince of Hearts. Blood will be shed, hearts will be stolen, and true love will be put to the test in A Curse for True Love, the breathlessly anticipated conclusion to the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. I think I liked this book the most in the series, or at least on the same level as the first one. The rating does not show that, but I did enjoy this a lot. I finally liked Jax in this book. We finally started to like Jax. I didn't like Apollo in this book, which makes sense, but as a villain, I think he's good. Plot-wise, I give it 4 stars again because I did enjoy it as much as I did the first one. The characters, I give it only 3 stars because Apollo pissed me off so much. Is that a curse? I don't even know. Because Apollo annoyed me. Writing style, I gave it 3 stars for this one because Apollo annoyed me so much. But I gave the ending 5 stars. I think after all the trials and tribulations of the series, the 3 books, I think the ending was satisfying enough. I did enjoy it. I think I would give it a 4.5 stars though. Thinking back on it, there is something that I didn't like about the ending. I'm gonna talk about it later. Overall, again, 3.5 stars. I think this entire series for me is 3.5 stars, which is very good. I don't know if I'm ever gonna rate a book 1 star. Because I feel like at that point I'm just never gonna finish it, so it makes no sense for me to rate it 1 star when I don't finish it. But I think 3.5 stars is an acceptable rating for the first fantasy series and the first series that I've read since Twilight, which was a long time ago. We're now gonna get into the spoiler section of the video. So if you have not read these books and you don't want any spoilers, thank you for watching from this far, and I will hopefully see you in a next video. But yes, let's get to the more in-depth discussion. Firstly, I'm going to read my thoughts that I wrote down after I wrote the books, and then we're gonna get a bit more into talking about the characters individually. For Once Upon a Broken Heart, my thoughts after reading it was, I loved this book. It was the first book I finished in a long time. The story was fun and I loved the main character. The only downside was the reveal that Marisol was the villain after all. I really wished for something more than the evil stepsister plot point. Jax is also fairly annoying. The Jax annoyance lasted so long for me. But yeah, I was really disappointed with the Marisol plotline. The entire book I was wishing that she would not turn into the villain. I kind of hoped for the sisterly bond to be real, and then maybe towards the end, after all has happened and Evangeline warns her of Jax, maybe she can feel a certain way and that could drive a rift between them. I just wished for a little more love between the siblings, because I think the stepsister, the evil stepsister plotline is just very predictable at this point. So I kind of maybe would have wished that she hadn't done all the things that she's done and she was a good person in the end. But yeah, she did not deliver on that front. She was one of the villains after all. I suppose her mother was also a villain. So again, the stepmother, evil stepmother, I didn't want, but I suppose it's a fairy tale, so it follows the fairy tale formula, so it makes sense. But I wished for more. I wanted something different from this. I really enjoyed the stories changing element. I felt that was very interesting plot point, to kind of not be able to trust the things that you read because they keep changing. And I feel like it's very reminiscent of gossip in real life, because every time something gets told to another person, something, even the tiniest bit changes. Plus the idea that we can't really trust our memories either, because you don't really know how much they have been affected by time and by reiterating them in our brain. The more you think about something, the more it changes in your brain. So I did really like that plot point. I liked the Archer and the Fox storyline. Really enjoyed it. I think that was fun. Other characters I didn't like Jax. Jax annoyed me throughout the first and second book. I really liked 𝐼𝐼 though. Who else is in the first book? Apollo. I didn't really like Apollo in the first book, but he's not really focused on, I suppose. And he is under a spell the entire time, so we can't really know his personality. We don't really know much about him, and you can't really know much about him, so I didn't really have thoughts on him. But I suppose he was a prince, so I don't really have high hopes for what he could have been as a person. For the second book, my thoughts after reading were, the romance drags on for the entire book, which would be fine since it's intentional, but since we know they do have feelings for each other, it's a bit too much. I put it away for a full year and a half, but it was enjoyable enough to come back to and finish. A lot of things happen, and at some points it's too much. There are a lot of plot points, and I guess it makes sense. They go on a lot of adventures to kind of figure things out, which I did like. There's just not enough focus on each individual event. Jax is growing on me, but you put her in their situation. What did you expect? Exactly. Yes. At the end, he's heartbroken, obviously, for her. But what did you expect? You have been putting this woman through so much and such dangerous situations for 2 books now that you just cannot be surprised that it ended the way it did. Yes, she got hurt, but it was inevitable. She got hurt so much by that point that it should have been expected. So to me, that kind of reads like Jax did not really care, or he wasn't very smart. Yeah, you cannot be surprised when someone you put through so much danger actually gets hurt. And you continue to put them there. So, yeah. I also liked Evangeline in this book better. I feel like she's a little more assertive. I like that about her, which makes sense because she kind of understands what Jax is doing. I think 𝐼𝐼 is one of my favorite characters overall in the series. I really liked her. I think she's a fun character. I am curious about her story a lot more. I think her backstory is interesting. I kind of wish she would get her own spin-off. If Stephanie Garber is going to write more books in this series in particular, I would like to see more about 𝐼𝐼 rather than something that could be written from Caraval. I would prefer we get more stuff with 𝐼𝐼 than that. I like Chaos as a villain. I feel like Chaos is interesting. However, after reading Caraval, his backstory does not make sense to me. And maybe it's something that I don't remember or I missed, but the way he's created is different in Caraval. Like his story is set up to be one way, and then in this one, it's written as if he was created differently. In this book, he's created by his parents. And maybe I don't understand, and maybe he was a vampire before he was a fate. I kind of want more clarification on that. So if you have more understanding on what is actually his backstory, please let me know, because I don't understand what's happening there. I feel like I'm missing something and I don't know what. I like him as a villain. I don't think beyond that I would like him, but yeah, he does say at some point that he hasn't been a monster for such a long time, but he's not a monster because he can't be, not because he chooses not to be. So for me, he's still a villain. I don't see him as anything else by the end of the book. And again, not surprised at all that that's what he did to Evangeline. Yeah, he's a vampire. What did you expect? Of course, that's what happened. I really liked the Marywood house plotline. I think that was very, very interesting, and I would like to visit that place because I think it's very cute. I think it would be so nice to live there. So my thoughts for the third book, I kind of gave an overall series thoughts for this one. I liked the series. There were moments that annoyed me, like the constant betrayal, but overall a fun read. I wish the next installments focused on chaos and Lala. Their very brief interaction was very fun. This book made me like Jax a lot more too. I guess I can't resist a man who yearns. Apollo got on all of my nerves though, and I'm glad in the end it was all revealed that he only cared about himself. His ending was cruel but deserved. Love the overall ending. I think I will enjoy reading this again in a few years. Oh, I wrote that my least favorite character for this book was Apollo because he's just doing things for no reason. Yeah, I was kind of getting frustrated with him in this book, especially because I liked him in the previous one. I kind of didn't want him to turn into this because it's not fun if one of the partners, you know, when there's a love triangle and one part is obviously better, like the other part is horrible. It's not really a love triangle because I'm not going to root for that one. I'm just going to root for the good guy, I guess, even though in this one they're both kind of villains. I think the constant betrayals was one of my least favorite part of this, because it was hard for me to root for these characters to get along and be together when they're constantly going behind each other's backs and betraying each other and lying and putting Evangeline in dangerous situations for no reason and then being shocked that there are consequences. So I think that was my least favorite part of the series as a whole. So I said that I'm glad that Apollo kind of was forced to recognize that he only cared about himself in the end, because that was very obvious to me in the third book, and that was something that I kept thinking about, and it was kind of getting annoying where he kept telling to himself that he is doing this for her because he loves her so much. And I liked that the author wrote it that way though. Him being pulled into the tree was traumatic. Not actually, but it would be traumatic if something like that happened. Even if you're just seeing it and you're not experiencing it, I think it would be quite traumatic. I don't understand why the kiss just worked. I suppose it's true love, but I don't know, it felt a little bit underwhelming that it just worked. There wasn't really any fear around it. I don't know, it felt a little underwhelming, the kiss in itself. And I don't really buy the chemistry between them after all the books. I think I have trouble buying the chemistry between Evangeline and Jax. I think I had trouble with that a little bit. And after reading Caraval, I'm gonna talk about it in the next video, but I have even more trouble believing the chemistry between them. The Valor family, I didn't like them. I didn't like any of them. I feel like Aurora was just another girl who was mean for no reason. I'm pretty sure they just leave. They just go on with their lives. Nothing happens to them. I don't really remember, but I think nothing happens to them. And I don't like that. We need consequences for people who do bad things, and there aren't really any. I think her dad kind of punishes her, but I don't remember. I don't actually remember what happens. That's bad. It hasn't been that long since I read this, but this is why I'm doing reviews, because I'm going to forget what happens in these books, and I feel like if I talk about them, then I have higher chances of actually remembering what I'm reading, and they're gonna stick into my head a little bit better. Overall, a really enjoyable series. I would recommend it to other people who have patience. I think you need patience to get through this one because it's very, very slow burn, but other than that, I think it's very enjoyable. So I really like it. Plus the covers, these are beautiful and they have foiling, and they're just stunning. I think had the covers not been like this, had they had the original covers, I wouldn't have picked them up. I'm just gonna say it because I saw the originals. I would not have picked this book series up. And I know, don't judge books by their covers, but that's why they're there. They're there to be judged. So yeah, love the covers. I think this is the UK version of the covers. Absolutely love this one. I think with that we're gonna end this video because I've been yapping for about 50 minutes. I don't know how much I'm gonna actually be able to keep from this video. We'll see. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I would love to hear what your opinion on this book series is and the characters themselves, if you agree, if you disagree with what I said. And yeah, the next video is going to be me yapping about the Caraval series. I think I'm gonna have a lot more of substance to say about that one because I actually wrote down what I wanted to say about that one. I didn't think to do that for this one, but now I have a small notebook that I just write in as I read any thoughts, any opinions, and that's gonna be a lot easier for me to keep track of. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day or night ahead, and I will be seeing you in my next video whenever that happens. There's no schedule for this. Please subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment, and I will be seeing you in my next video. Bye!